No, I'm going home. Saji wailed as he tried to escape, but Konako was holding firm to his arm, refusing to let him leave. After I revealed my intention to destroy Excalibur, Konako had remained silent for a moment, pondering what I had said. Before long, she declared, "I'll help. This is about Yuto, isn't it?" "Right on, Konako. I knew I could count on you." Saji, on the other hand, had turned pale and tried to leave. This was when Konako grabbed a hold of him. "Iyoto, what does this have to do with me? That's your familia to sort out. I'm part of the Citra familia. It's none of my business. Leave me out of it," he begged, tears streaming down from his cheeks. "Don't say that. You're the only demon I know who might be willing to help." "As if. There's no way I'm helping you. She'll kill me. The chairwoman will have my head." Whoa, I could see the fear of Sona writ large on his face. She must be truly terrifying to have him feel like that. "I'm sure your Rias is both strict and reasonable, but you should know the chairwoman is a draconian and loves punishing us." Saji was right about the press being firm yet fair. So, the chairwoman was a draconian? That was good to know. With single-minded determination, I took off with Konako and Saji to search throughout the town for Irina and Zenobia. "Konako, you know how Kiba was a victim of the Holy Sword Project, and how he has a real grudge against Excalibur, right?" I asked. Konako nodded. "When Irina and Zenobia caught on us, they said the church had decided it would prefer to destroy the Excaliburs forever, rather than let the fallen angels get their hands on them. If all else failed, they said their goal was to make sure that the weapons didn't remain in the fallen angels. In other words, they have to either recover the Excaliburs or else eradicate them, right?" "That's what they said." "So, I thought we might try to help them with Kiba taking the lead. They lost 3 of them, so they might not mind too much if we retrieve or destroy one." "You want Yuto to overcome one of the Excaliburs and clear his conscience?" Konako had figured it out. I flashed her a smile, nodding. "That way, Kiba could have his revenge, and everything would be okay. He could return to his usual carefree life and get on with his demon work. That's what I hope for anyways. Kiba needs to win against the Excaliburs to exact his revenge. Zenobia and Irina want to make sure the fallen angels can't have the Excaliburs. Even if it means destroying them, we should be able to satisfy both goals. All we have to do is find them and talk them into it." "It won't be that easy." "Yeah, I know." Konako was right on that count. Even at the time, I knew our chances weren't particularly high. On top of that, we'll have to keep it a secret from the president and the others, Konako reasoned. "Yeah, she's right there too. We couldn't afford to let either the Prez or Akano know about this. Rias was sure to disapprove. No doubt she'd say something like, even for Yuto's sake, we can't put our necks out for the line of the likes of angels or the church." Rias was a high-class demon and a particularly rigid when it came to things like that. She opposed me when I wanted to go save Azia from the fallen angels, and this certainly would have been no different. Speaking of, we couldn't tell Azia either. She was even worse at keeping a secret than I was. She couldn't tell a lie with a straight face. Trying to talk to them could lead to a fight though. It could make things harder between them and us, I pointed out. That meant I needed to prepare to put my life on the line. Whoa, I could end up dying. "Konako, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. And Saji, if things heat up, you should get out of here too." "I want to get out of here now. I can't do this. The chairwoman would kill me if I help destroy the Excalibur without her permission. She'll torture me to death." "Hey, come on now. There's no need to cry. Just stick things out for now. And if the situation gets dangerous, then go," I thought. We might be able to talk it through with them. And if we can, then we're going to need your help. What? You're only out to help yourself. I'm dead. I'm already dead. He might have been right about that. Unfortunately, there was no other male demons I could ask for help. Saji was my only hope. I won't run away. This is for my friend, Konako stated plainly. Her gaze was filled with determination. Konako could certainly be a passionate one, that was for sure. Back during the fight with Riser Phoenix and his familia, she'd been particularly fervent. She undoubtedly had a keen sense of camaraderie. We searched the town for around 20 minutes before we found Irina and Zenobia. They might have been on a secret mission, but the two young women in white robes weren't exactly inconspicuous. Oh, blessings on the wandering sheep before us. Please, please, Heavenly Father, show your mercy on these poor, wretched souls. Like I said, they weren't hard to spot. Two young, white-robed women were praying on the side of the street. It would have been stranger not to have spotted them. It looked like they were in a bit of a pinch. Passerbys were staring at them strangely. How could this be? Is this really Japan? I heard this country was highly advanced. This is why I can't stand countries that don't share our beliefs. Don't say that, Zenobia. We used up all our money. If we don't rely on charity of heathens, we won't be able to eat. We can't even afford a loaf of bread. That was because you wanted to go buy that dodgy looking painting from that swindler. Zenobia spat, pointing at a poorly drawn picture of what might have been a saint. What's going on? Did some hawker convince them to buy something? What are you saying? It's clearly a holy figure. The person from the shop said that much. Who is it then? It doesn't remind me of anyone. The figure of the image looked like a foreigner. He was dressed in shabby looking clothing. What appeared to be a halo was floating above his head. A pair of baby angels hovered in the background, holding small trumpets. Saint Peter, maybe? You got to be kidding. There's no way Saint Peter would look like that. Oh, how would I know? Why did I wind up with you as a partner? Lord, is this another one of your trials? Hey, don't talk about me like that. When your spirits drop, they drop hard, huh? Shut up. This is why you Protestants are all heretics. You don't share the same values as us Catholics. Show some respect for the saints. What? That's rich. You Catholics are slaves to outmoded traditions. What was that, you heretic? You're the heretic. In a matter of seconds, the two of them were butting heads. The sound of their growling stomachs was so loud I heard it from even at a distance. No sooner did that noise die down than the two of them flopped to the ground. First, we need to find something to fill our stomachs. Otherwise, we won't be able to think about taking back the Excaliburs. Right. Should we threaten the pagans for money? I'm sure the Lord will forgive us if we only target pagans. What if we attack the Buddhist temple? Or we could steal their offertory box? No, that's a bad idea. We could try to put on a street performance with our swords. That kind of international pastime should be fine no matter what country you're in. That's an excellent idea. Maybe we could slice fruit with the Excaliburs. People might throw us some coins. Well, the fruit is already gone. I guess we don't have any other choice. We'll have to use this painting. No, you can't. With that, the two of them started arguing once again. The bickering gave me a headache, but I pushed through it and chose the moment to approach them. Seriously, it was hard to believe these were the two same people who had been so full of bluster in the club room only one day earlier. so delicious. Japanese food is awesome. Yeah, it tastes just like home. Zenobia and Irina were stuffing their faces with one dish after another from our table in a chain restaurant. Whoa, they're really helping themselves here. Are these two really assassins dispatched by the Christian church? When Irina and Zenobia had spotted us during their argument in the street, they fixed us with ravenous looks. We're going to get some lunch. Do you want to come? I suggested. It seemed decided before I even asked. All throughout the walk to the restaurant, Irina and Zenobia had muttered things like, "We sold our soul to the demons," and "This is only so we could carry out our mission." I wasn't sure whether I could afford to treat them both, but thankfully, Konako offered to chip in. It wounded my manly pride to have a girl younger than me pay, however. After seeing how much Irina and Zenobia were eating though, I realized it would have been impossible for me to cover the cost alone. This is all for the club, for the familia, I reminded myself. Damn you, Kiba. Somehow, I wound up risking my life for a freaking pretty boy. As compensation, I resolved to make him introduce me to one of his mature ladies who summoned him for his services. Phew, that's better. What is this world coming to when the faithful have to rely on a charity of demons? Zenobia mused. Hey, come on, we're treating you here. My mouth twitched. There was more that I wanted to say, but I couldn't. We would need to stay on positive terms if we were going to negotiate. Thank you for the meal. Lord, show mercy on these gentle demons, Irina said. With a hand, she signed the shape of a cross. Oh! At that moment, I was struck with a splitting headache. Konako and Saji raised their hands to their heads as well. Evidently, even a simple gesture like that could cause us harm. Oh, sorry, I wasn't thinking, Irina admitted with a cute smile. At that moment, she and Zenobia looked nothing more than two normal, beautiful young women. Zenobia took a drink of water, then paused to catch her breath. So, what do you want with us? She asked. I hadn't been expecting her to cut to the chase so quickly. Well, I guess it was pretty obvious that we hadn't bumped into them both by chance. You've come to Japan to take the Excaliburs, right? I asked. Yes. We explained the situation to you the other day. Perhaps because we just treated them to a meal, neither Zenobia nor Irina seemed particularly hostile towards us around this time. From their point of view, fighting in the restaurant was not an option. They knew they could take us down if it came to that point, however. I want to help destroy the Excaliburs, I admitted. Both Irina and Zenobia flashed me a surprised look before exchanging glances at each other. I swallowed hard and waited for the response. Yikes, this is tense. I could be in serious trouble if they turn me down. Things falling apart here risk the rise of a three-way conflict between demons, fallen angels, and the forces of God. That such a thing could arise over a few swords was a testament of how powerful those Excaliburs were. It was all I could do to hope that Irina and Zenobia weren't offended by the idea of joining forces with demons. I broke into a cold sweat by the time Zenobia responded. I see. Perhaps we could leave one of them to you. If you really can destroy it, that is. Just make sure no one finds out what you are. We don't want our enemies or our superiors thinking that we teamed up with you. Against all expectations, the sterner of the two girls accepted my proposal. My mouth was hanging open in astonishment. She's okay with it? Seriously? Hold on, Zenobia. Are you sure? Issei is a demon after all. Irina noted an objection. That was the sort of response I was anticipating. Irina, to be honest with you, it isn't going to be easy retrieving all three swords and fighting Kokobio entirely by ourselves. I realize that, but still. At the very least, our mission is to destroy the 3 Excaliburs and escape. If there is any chance that our Excaliburs might be stolen, we are to destroy them immediately. Even using our secret weapon, there is only a 30% chance that we will be able to complete our mission and return home safely. But we understood the odds when we came to Japan. We are both prepared and ready. Indeed, our superiors have no qualms about sending us out here. We essentially been told to sacrifice ourselves. Isn't that what we, the faithful of the Lord, are supposed to strive for above all else? I changed my mind about that. My beliefs are flexible. That's why I've been able to find the best course of action. You know, I've been thinking about this for a while now, but there's something wrong with that faith of yours. I won't deny it, but there's something strange about my belief that our duty is to carry out a mission and return home safely. We should strive to live so that we could continue to fight for the Lord of the future, no? I can't disagree with you there, but still, that is precisely why I won't seek the help of any demon. Instead, I shall ask the dragon. Our superiors never said anything about that, did they? Zenovia's gaze landed on me, the dragon. More specifically, Zenobia had meant the being dwelled in my left arm, the Red Dragon Emperor. I would have never imagined that we would meet the Red Dragon Emperor in this Far East island country. He may have turned into a demon, but I could sense the powers alive and well. If the legends are true, you should be on par with the Demon King once fully boosted, right? Do that, and you shouldn't have any trouble destroying an Excalibur. Yes, us finding you here was truly a work of the Lord. Zenobia sounded quite pleased. You're right that no one said anything about dragons, but... you're splitting hairs here. Your faith is really warped. Irina groaned. I'm fine with that. Isn't he your childhood friend, Irina? For now, I think it should be fine to trust him and the power of the dragon. Irina fell silent, but it looked like she grudgingly accepted Zenovia's suggestion. That's it? All decided that quickly? Seriously? Admittedly, I was still quite a way off from boosting to the level of a Demon King. I did think there was a good chance of surpassing an Excalibur if I channeled my power through Kiba, however. That seemed like our best option. Okay, then it's decided. I'll lend you this dragon's power. Since you agreed to work with us, you won't have any problems with me calling my partner, right? I asked. Before Irina or Zenobia could answer, I pulled out my cell phone and dialed Kiba. I get it, Kiba said with a sigh as he sipped at his coffee. I asked him to join us at the restaurant. I'm with 2 Excalibur users right now. Think you can meet us? I asked. Kiba had made his way over without the slightest hesitation. To tell you the truth, I'm disappointed that someone who could wield an Excalibur would approve of their destruction. You got quite the mouth. If you were a stray, I would cut you down right here and now. Kiba and Zenobia glared at each other. Hey, cut it out, you two. We're supposed to be discussing strategy, not fighting. You got a grudge against the Holy Sword Project, don't you? Irina deducted. And against the Excaliburs too, and the church. Kiba's eyes narrowed. Obviously, he responded in a frigid tone of voice. But Kiba, that project advanced Holy Swords research by leaps and bounds. It's thanks to it that there are compatible users like Zenobia and me. Do you think that justifies murdering all the other failed test subjects? Kiba leveled a seething gaze at Irina. Disposing of all of Kiba's peers had indeed been an act of immeasurable cruelty. The way I saw it, that kind of inhumanity was completely at odds with everything the Christian church claimed to represent. Irina, too, looked troubled by Kiba's response. It was Zenobia who broke the silence. We also view that whole affair as a great repugnance. The beliefs of the individual responsible for the projects were completely at odds with the church doctrine. He was charged with hearsay and serves with the fallen angels. The fallen angels? Tell me his name, Kiba demanded, his inches peaked. Valper Galilee. These days, people refer to him as the massacring archbishop. Valper. So that was the name of Kiba's sworn enemy. So I'll find him and hunt down the fallen angels. There was new determination in Kiba's eyes. Now that he had a way of locating his target, it looked like he was ready to make the next step. I guess I should ask you some advice too. The other day, I was attacked by someone wielding an Excalibur. He just killed a priest. The victim must have been one of your people. Every single one of us tensed up at the revelation. I mean, of course we did. None of us could have expected that Kiba already encountered the one responsible for all this. It begged the question of why Kiba hadn't volunteered this information sooner. That must have been what he was so preoccupied with lately. The assailant was Fried Selzen. Does that name ring a bell? Fried, that psycho priest. No way could have I forgotten about him. He was that white-haired lunatic we'd run into a while back. If Kiba's story was to be believed, that nutjob was still in town. Zenobia and Irina both frowned at that name too. I see. So it was him, Irina muttered. Fried Selzen is a former Vatican exorcist who served directly under the Pope. He was hailed as a prodigy and ascended to a full-fledged exorcist at a young age of 13. He's well known for having destroyed countless demons and legendary beasts, Zenobia explained. Irina then took over, continuing with, but he took things too far. He didn't hesitate to kill his allies too. Fried never truly shared the faith. The only thing that ever mattered to him was savagely butchering whatever monster he encountered. That was his unhealthy obsession with fighting. It was only a matter of time before he was branded a heretic. So the church had problems with him too. I could understand how they must have felt. I see. Fried used one of the stolen Excaliburs to murder our people. I didn't think that we would be the ones to pay for the disposal team's failure to eliminate him. Zenobia was clearly frustrated by this development. Looks like you made a lot of enemies, Fried. But I guess you know that already. Let's not get distracted. We should focus on how we're gonna work together to destroy the Excaliburs. With that, Zenobia pulled out a pen and a notepad. She quickly jotted down her contact information. Call me if you need anything. Thanks, I said as I took the piece of paper. In that case, I'll give you ours too. Your mom already gave us your number, Irina said with a grin. Seriously, Mom, without even asking me? How could she have done that? I bet she surrendered my info as soon as the old childhood friend stopped by. It was none of her business. I suppose we'll be off then. We'll pay you back for the meal sometime, Mr. Red Dragon Emperor. Having decided the conversation was over, Zenobia rose to her feet. Thanks for the food, Issei. Treat me again sometime, okay? Even if you are a demon, I'm sure the Lord won't mind offering a meal to a member of the church. Irina said in thanks, giving me a wink. Is her faith really that flexible? We watched the two of them leave before catching our collective breath. Phew. Somehow, things had come together. Despite the plan seemed like a total long shot, Zenobia and Irina proved to be willing to go along with it. That only meant the real danger was yet to come, however. A chill ran down my spine as I imagined what the Excalibur might do to us if we were to fail. An operation with a tenuous piece between demons and angels hanging in the balance. Yeah, this was a bold strategy, even for me. Issei, why are you doing this? Kiba asked quietly. He was undoubtedly wondering why I wanted to help him settle this personal grudge. We're friends, aren't we? We're all part of the same familia. Besides, you helped me out before. Don't take that to mean I'm trying to settle a debt. I just wanted to help you. It'll cause problems for the president if I was to slip up. Did that factor into your decision? Kiba pressed. Of course. You'll upset the press if you go on a rampage. Although, I guess the fact that I decided to plan for myself might be a bit of an issue too. Still, it's better than you becoming a stray, right? Regardless, we've come to an agreement with Zenobia and Irina, so it worked out right in the end. Kiba still didn't look entirely satisfied. He could be difficult to deal with at times. At that moment, Konako broke in, practically whispering, Yuto, I would be so lonely if you disappeared. Her face looked surprisingly forlorn. Given how expressionless she was, this sudden change was quite of a shock to the three guys sitting with her. I'll help you, so please don't go. Konako's plea was, damn. She might have been talking to Kiba, but my heart skipped a beat nonetheless. I would never be able to betray this familia. If a junior, a girl at that, was to say to me what Konako had, there was no way I would be able to resist her. Kiba let out a perplexed chuckle. I'm quite in a bind now. If that's how you feel, Konako, I guess I can't go off on my own and do anything rash. Alright, I'll go with your plan. It's thanks to Issei we all know who the real enemy is anyway. If we're going to do this, we will destroy an Excalibur. Yeah, Kiba was on board and ready to roll. Konako broke into a small smile of relief. Whoa, that's seriously cute. I didn't have a thing for petite girls, but that sure was something. Okay then, Excalibur Demolition Squad. Our goal is clear. Let's find the stolen Excalibur and bust that Psycho Freed's ass. I was pumped. So long as I had Kiba and Konako by my side, I trusted we'd be able to go through this somehow. No, I told myself, we're definitely gonna get this done. Excalibur, Freed, we're coming for you. There was one among our newly assembled task force who remained hesitant though. Me too? Saji asked, raising his hand into the air. I mean, I'm completely in the dark here. Did something happen between Kiba and Excalibur? Oh yeah. He didn't know anything about Kiba's history with the Holy Sword. From where he was sitting, our previous conversation had probably been so fragmented as to be incomprehensible. Let's have a chat, Kiba began. He proceeded to fill in Saji between sips of his coffee. Years ago, the Catholic Church had established the Holy Sword Project behind closed doors, an experiment conducted in a certain secret facility to produce individuals capable of wielding a holy sword. The test subjects had to be young children, boys and girls, with various sword-related skills and sacred gears. Day after day, they were subjected to cruel and inhumane experiments, their freedom usurped from them. They were repeatedly used as guinea pigs, with a complete disregard for lives and humanity. Those poor kids weren't without a dream of their own, however. They wanted to live. They had been raised to believe that God loved them, and they waited patiently for that certain special day. Each believed they could become something greater than they were, that they could come to wield a holy sword. Every day of every year, they were subjected to one cruel experiment after another. Their only comforts were hymns that they sang in their brief moments of rest. Unfortunately, only disposal awaited them in the end. Not a single person among Kiba and his companions had been compatible with the holy swords. Everyone died, killed by the ones who served God. No one saved them, all because they weren't good fits for the holy sword. The church locked us in there with an amen and gassed us alive. We were vomiting blood, struggling on the floor, begging God to save us. Saji, Konako, and I listened to Kiba's story in silence. Kiba had managed to escape from the research facility, but poison had already eaten away at his body. Accepting those select few individuals, all of the test subjects of the church decided they were unfit had been tossed away. On the verge of death after making good on his escape, Kiba encountered Rias, who had been on a tour of Italy. The rest was easy enough to figure out. I want to avenge my comrades' deaths. No, I need to make sure they didn't die in vain. I live to prove that I'm stronger than any Excalibur. Kiba's childhood had been truly horrible. Ozzy had a life of hardship too, but Kiba's origin went above and beyond anything I could imagine. To be honest, I couldn't even comprehend the depths of his suffering. Living only for revenge hardly sounded easy. The President says she made him a demon because she wanted him to use his talents for something other than defeating a holy sword. A sudden sob broke the silence that followed Kiba recounting his childhood. It was Saji. He was crying. He was sobbing so hard that the tears were washing down his face, and his nose was running. He took Kiba's hand in his own and said, "Kiba, that must have been awful, dreadful, damn it. There's no God or Buddha in this world. You don't know how much I feel for you right now. It's a heart-wrenching story. I see that you have hate for the leaders of the institution and the Excaliburs. I understand." Whoa, I thought. Saji was nodding forcefully as he continued. "To be honest, I didn't like you at first because you're a pretty boy, but that's entirely separate matter. I'll help you. I'll take whatever punishment the chairwoman has in store for me. We're going to destroy the Excalibur. I'll do everything I can, so should you too. You can't betray Rias after she saved you from all that." Saji wasn't saying anything new, but I could feel his passion. I guess he had a good heart after all. I suppose he never really looked like a bad guy. There was some part of me that felt bad for having dragged him into this against his will, but I was glad that it worked out for the best. "Alright, this is as good a time as any. I want you to listen to my story. You need to know who I am before we're going to work together." Saji paused there for a second in apparent embarrassment before his eyes let out a sparkling glint. "My goal is to get the chairwoman Sona pregnant and marry her. I know what you're thinking. That's an incredibly high hurdle for an unpopular guy like me, right? I mean, I haven't had a chance to have sex with anyone, let alone her, but I'm going to do it one day. I'm going to put a baby in her and marry her." Hearing Saji's confession, I felt something welling up inside me. Before I knew it, I was crying. How could I have not? It was only natural. Saji was just like me. We were practically cut from the same cloth. We were brothers in arms. I was so moved that I almost broke down in audible sobs. I covered my mouth with my hand, trying to keep my emotions at bay. Without saying anything, I took Saji's hand in my own and declared, "Saji, hear me out. My goal is to fondle the Prez's breasts and suck on them." After a momentary pause, Saji began to join me in weeping. "Hyodo, you understand, don't you? You know how hard it would be, touching the breasts of a high-class demon, your own masters no less. It's possible, Saji. We can do it. Nothing is out of reach, not the breasts of our high-class demon masters. In fact, I've already touched them with this very hand." I shook the one in question. Saji stared at my hand, wholly enraptured. "You're kidding me. It's really possible? You aren't lying, are you?" "It's the truth. Our master's breasts are distant, but they're not unreachable." "Suck them? Can I really suck the chairwoman's breasts? I guess it's nipples, right? That's the part to suckle, right? Don't be stupid. Where else but the nipple would you go? Yes, my mouth is going to go on the Prez's nipples. Saji broke down on my declaration. Saji, by ourselves, we may be pawns, but together, we're something more. Arm in arm, we will succeed. This battle is ours. If we work together, we might even impregnate our masters and marry them. Let's do everything we can to sleep with them. Yes, yes. There was nothing that two men in love with their master's breasts couldn't accomplish. Clasping each other's hands, Saji and I nodded at each other, affirming our resolve. We were comrades, war buddies. Our newfound relationship couldn't be described in mere words. At that moment, Saji and I communicated something through our very souls. Our hearts and mind reverberated in kind. Disgusting. Kiba and Konako let out resigned sighs. When I glanced around, I realized that everyone in the restaurant was eyeing Saji and me. I didn't care though, not in the slightest. With that, the Excalibur Demolition Squad was born. Several days after teaming up to help Kiba, I found myself laying out a long Excel for my scene in the club room. Kiba, Konako, Saji, and I had spent the past few evenings searching throughout the town for one of the missing Excaliburs. Our target was the psycho priest Freed, who was working under the fallen angels. It sounded like he was out hunting priests, so we all dressed up as members of the clergy and strolled around town trying to lure him out. The tactic proved fruitless, however. That said, I wasn't exactly looking forward to see that wacko again. Zenobia and Irina had lent us several sets of priestly clothing. The apparel dampened our demon power somewhat, but we were unable to find our target despite our efforts. Just where is that damn psycho priest lurking? I wanted to get this over and let Kiba destroy the Excalibur once and for all. Sooner or later, the Prez was bound to realize what we were up to. No doubt we'd be in trouble once that happened. It was possible that she was already grown suspicious. I'm sorry, Prez. I know I'm going behind your back. I'll apologize later. I'll make it up to you. So please, just overlook things this one time. In my heart, I entreated her to show mercy when... You look like you've been stressing out a bit lately, Issei, Motohama said as he adjusted his glasses. Huh? I guess so. Even a guy like me isn't completely free from worry, I replied. Is it about that? Maybe he's debating whether he should fondle Rias' breast or Akino's, Matsuda joked. I ask myself that every day, Matsuda. Just so you know, the Prezes are firmer. She's the winner when it comes to fullness too. Akino's are so wonderfully soft though. No, the Prezes are meatier, but Akino has an excellent balance between breast and areola. She's exquisite, a classic Japanese beauty. Regarding fondling, the Prezes are perfect volume to have fun, but Akino's are so wonderfully big too. If you keep going on like that, something will come after you one of these days. They both have a lot of admirers going throughout the school. Motohama, breasts are more valuable than life. That's deep, Issei. You're an inspiration. All of a sudden, someone tugged at my cheek. It was Azia. Her eyes were glistening and her cheeks were all puffed up. She was seriously in a bad mood. Azia? I managed, unable to properly form necessary words. What's wrong? She continued to pull firmly at my cheek without saying anything. She wasn't putting a lot of force into it, but it seemed obvious she heard everything I just said. Curse you, Issei, you sex fiend. You ravaged the occult research club. And now you got Azia fawning over you. Matsuda let out an anguished cry as he held his head in his hands. I know what you're up to, Issei. You've been walking home arm in arm with both Rias and Azia after your club activities, right? You plucked the two of the school's best flowers. You ought to be blasted into some fantasy world and melted by the first slime you bump into. Hey, calm down there, Motohama. It was more complicated than that. Azia and Rias had started competing for some mysterious reason, but I hadn't done anything. All I was guilty of was getting caught awkwardly in the middle. I hardly even had space to breathe. Whether that kind of thing happened, I had to ask myself whether I would be able to become the harem king. I had my doubts. I can't even handle a single girl. By the way, Issei, what's happening with that bowling and karaoke get-together? Motohama asked, regaining his composure. Recently, I arranged that Kiryu, Kiba, Konako, Azia, Motohama, Matsuda, and me would have some fun on our next day off. Azia and Kiryu had agreed easily enough. Konako, too, had been surprisingly willing. I'd been sure that she would refuse. The real obstacle was Kiba. I had explained everything to him, but given the current situation, Azia and Kiryu would be there. Konako's coming too. Whoa, Azia and Konako Tojo? That alone is enough to lift the spirits. Matsuda cried. Yes, he literally cried, with tears and everything. He must have been starved for interaction with the opposite sex. Sorry, Matsuda. I'm moving further and further away from you. I mean, I'm living with a pair of beautiful young women every day now. That's not to say it was all sunshine and roses, however. Someone smacked Matsuda in the back of the head. It was bespectacled Kiryu. Sorry to break it to you. I'm going to, she said with a sour frown. You're just the optional extra with Azia. This class already has a glasses-wearing pervert, right, Motohama? If you're going to insist, I suppose you could come along. What's that, Matsuda? Don't lump me together with that filthy perverted glasses, Kiryu spat. Damn you, Motohama's glasses are special. He could size up a girl's measurements just by looking at her. You're nothing to him. Kiryu suddenly broke on a wry laugh at Matsuda's outburst. You don't think that Motohama was the only one with that ability, do you? The three of us were struck by a sudden sense of unease. Kiryu's gaze moved down to our crotches. I see. Hit by a sense of crisis, I covered my groin with my hands. Matsuda and Motohama quickly did the same. Kiryu's glasses, however, let out a bright glimmer of light in response to our frantic reactions. Oh, yes, my glasses can size up a man's member, from the tiniest to the most massive. What a terrifying ability. As she worked out the sizes of all the boys in the class, I was utterly horrified, but the next thing I knew, she placed a hand on my shoulder and flashed me a creepy grin. Don't worry, you got nothing to worry about in that regard. It would be too much for any woman if it was too big. Yep, both Gremory and Azia should have plenty satisfied by that. What? This is sexual harassment. A girl is sexually harassing me. Good for you, Azia. Kiryu congratulated. Azia wore a look of bewilderment at that remark. Come on, Kiryu. You don't need to tell her stuff like that. Jeez. I guess I'll spell it out. You see, Issei Hyodo's. Kiryu leaned over, about to whisper in Azia's ear. Hey, don't spout that nonsense at Azia, I said, pulling her behind me to protect her. I couldn't afford to be careless around Kiryu. Then again, Azia had already seen it for herself. Fine. Anyway, everyone except Kiba is coming, no? Perhaps realizing that she wouldn't get any further with this conversation, Kiryu returned to a safer topic of discussion. I'll try to convince him to come. He did say a while back that he might be interested in joining us. I stated. Somehow, I was gonna get that pretty boy to join us. We were going to have the time of our lives. Once we finished with our club activities after the school day, Kiba, Konako, Saji, and I met in the park and changed into our priest outfits. By the way, our crosses were fake. Had they been real, they might have burned us or something. The plan was to stroll around town dressed as members of the clergy. We focused on areas where very few people would be around. I was really hoping we'd catch a break and someone would take the bait today. Time passed quickly and uneventfully. Eventually, the evening was upon us. If I didn't go home soon, I would have some serious explaining to do. The last thing I wanted was for the press to know what we were doing in secret. The student council finding out was equally as bad. Another fruitless day, Saji said despondently. Surprisingly, he was one of the most enthusiastic about what we were doing. He was really a nice guy. We'd gotten off to a bad start, but now I feel like we've become good friends. His mind was just as dirty as mine was. I guess you could say he was to Sona's familia as I was to Rias's. Suddenly, Kiba, who had been standing in front of me, came to an abrupt halt. Yuta? Judging by her voice, Konako felt something too. At that moment, a wave of icy fear washed over me. A hunger for death was emanating from somewhere nearby. Up above! Saji shouted. We all looked to the sky, only to see a young, white-haired priest descending towards us with a long sword in hand. God bless a band of wandering priests, eh? Kiba quickly pulled out his demon sword, parrying the assailant. Freed! I shouted. That voice! Is that you, Issei? What a miraculous reunion. So how about it? Has your dragon power leveled up yet? Can I kill you now? That psycho was acting just as insane as last time. So that sword he was carrying was an Excalibur. It certainly made me feel as threatened as Zenovia's weapon had. Kiba, Konako, Saji, and I cast off our clergy robes, revealing our school uniforms underneath. Konako violently tore hers right off her body. It was a bit of a shame. She made for a super cute nun. Boosted gear. Boost! Energy swelled up inside me. This time, my job was to support Kiba. The plan was to charge my power and transfer it to him. I would try to leave the fighting to him for as long as possible, but if push came to shove, I was ready to use some increased strength on myself. Extend line! What looked like a thick black tentacle flew straight from Saji's arm and sped towards Freed. A cute, deformed lizard-faced device had appeared on the back of Saji's hand. Its mouth was spread wide. Is that line some sort of lizard tongue? What a pain. Freed tried to mow down the black cord with a sideways swipe of his blade, but the lizard tongue abruptly changed trajectory and went straight for his legs instead. Once there, it wrapped itself tightly around the right foot and refused to let go. Freed swung his sword again, trying to cut through the restraint, but the blade passed through it as if it would have done with thin air. Evidently, Saji's attack lacked a physical form. You won't cut through it that easily. Kiba, he can't run now. Get him. Good work, Saji. He managed to tie Freed down. That psycho priest was fast on his feet after all. The last thing we wanted was for him to escape. Thanks. Kiba dashed forward, charging straight for Freed with a demon sword clutched in each hand. So you're packing more than just a holy eraser? Multiple demon swords must mean you got sword birth. Wow, you must be pretty sinful to have a rare sacred gear there. Despite what he was saying, Freed seemed to be enjoying himself. Time had done little to change his freaky obsession with combat. No flimsy old demon sword would save you here. Both of Kiba's demon swords shattered with an audible sound. Not against my Excalibur. Kiba called up another demon sword, but it was clear that Freed's Excalibur was too powerful. It could destroy anything Kiba produced with a single blow. Kiba, do you want me to use my power now? I asked. No, I can do this, he insisted. Judging by the tone of his voice, he was kind of annoyed with me. I guess I can understand why. Losing to Zenobia had wounded his pride. He didn't want to taste defeat again. What's with the terrifying way you look at my Excalibur? Do you hate it, maybe? Are you seething with rage? I don't know what's up with you, but once I hit you with this, there won't be anything left of you. You'll be dead. Dead. You're going to die, do you hear me? At that moment, Freed leapt into the air. Kiba forged another sword, ready to meet him, and yet, the pale blue aura of Freed's holy sword dispatched Kiba's newest weapon in mere moments. Without pausing, Freed moved straight into his second strike. This is bad. Kiba's in trouble. My concerns were quickly put on hold, however, as a strange sense of weightlessness took over my body. Huh? Am I floating? I glanced down, only to find that Konako was holding me above her head. What is she doing with me? Issei, go and help Yuto. The petite girl hurled me through the air with her superhuman strength. Konako, I'm not a projectile. Don't throw me. Ah, Konako! I screamed as I flew towards Kiba. Damn it, desperate times calls for desperate measures. Kiba, transfer, now! What? Issei? The moment I reached Kiba, I activated my sacred gear. Transfer! It rang out. Instantly, my dragon power flooded into Kiba. A powerful aura quickly enveloped his body. If you're giving it to me, I guess I'll put it to use. Sword birth! Demon swords from every size and shape imaginable erupted from the ground, from street lamps, from everywhere. Free clicked his tongue in irritation and got to work smashing the weapons nearest himself. Spotting a momentary opening, Kiba took one of his fresh demon swords and disappeared. Using different blades as footholds, he was darting from place to place at incredible speed. All I could make out was a blur. Kiba's night speed was really impressive. Freed, however, was following Kiba's movements with his eyes. How on earth could his vision be that sharp? Kiba sent brands and falchions tearing through the air, and all were aimed straight at Freed. As he leaped from one to the next, Kiba pulled them from the ground and hurled them at the opponent from every possible direction. What's this circus act, you demon scum? With face contorted in frenzy, Freed struck down those airborne blades one after the next. This sword is called Excalibur Rapid. If speed's all you can do, then I've already won. The edge of Freed's weapon began to blur, and before I knew what had happened, it was gone. I never would have believed something could move so fast had I not have seen it for myself. After destroying all the demon swords hurtling towards him, Freed turned next to Kiba. Damn, I'm still no good. The two blades that Kiba had been gripping shattered. Time to die. Freed's deadly weapon came coursing down towards Kiba when Kiba was yanked backwards, throwing him off balance. I don't think so. It was Saji. The lizard on his arm had retracted his tongue, breaking Freed's stance. At that moment, a faint light snaked down the length of the tongue, passing from Freed to Saji. What? Ah! Are you absorbing my powers? Absorption? Saji has that kind of power? How's that? This is my sacred gear. Absorption line. The pulse of the black dragon. So long as it's latched to you, it will keep stealing your energy. Yup, right up until you collapse from exhaustion. Saji had a sacred gear too. It definitely looked like a nasty weapon, so long as it connected to you. It would keep sucking you dry. Evidently, not even a holy sword could cut through it. I made a mental note never to get into a fight with Saji. A dragon-type sacred gear? What a nuisance. Those things don't start off strong, but given them enough time, and you'll be able to unleash an explosive level of destructive power. Ah, scary stuff. There's nothing more monstrous. Free kept trying to free himself with his Excalibur, but Saji's sacred gear remained unbothered. Maybe it was some sort of object that couldn't be damaged by physical weapons. Wait, if it's a dragon-type sacred gear, does that make the little lizard a dragon? I didn't fully understand how it worked, but it seemed like one nice sacred gear. Kiba, quit complaining. Just take him down. We can deal with Excalibur afterward. Seriously, that guy's a menace. I'm getting jitters just hanging around him. If we don't finish him now, who knows what he'll do to the chairwoman or me. I'll weaken him by absorbing his energy, so finish him off. Saji had come with a good plan. To tell you the truth, I couldn't have conjured a better strategy. Freed was a real danger, but it was best that we take care of him here and now. Kiba wore a complicated expression nonetheless. The reason was easy enough to guess. He was probably frustrated that he couldn't win by himself. He understood that it was the best for all of us to eliminate Freed as soon as possible though. As if having made up his mind, he forged a new demon sword. This isn't how I wanted to do this, but it makes sense to finish you here. There are 2 certain stolen Excaliburs. I'll have to state myself with those. I'm stronger than the other 2. If you gang up and kill me here, there won't be anything left to satisfy you. Are you fine with that? Kill me, and you'll never have the holy sword battle you desire. Free needled. Kiba's eyes narrowed at this outburst. Ah, the pain in the ass. Damn that psycho priest. Ah, sword birth, is it? A sacred gear with unparalleled potential, depending on its user, of course. Suddenly, a new voice echoed across the battlefield. Turning around, I spotted an elderly man in an unmistakable garb of a priest. Old man Valper? Freed murmured. Everyone recoiled in shock. Valper, isn't he the guy Zenobia mentioned? The one who disposed of Kiba and the other test subjects during the Holy Sword Project? Valper Galilee. Kiba fixed the old man with a hateful glare. The one and only. The man affirmed proudly. This is Kiba's sworn enemy? Freed, what are you playing at? Valper inquired. Gramps, I'm stuck. I can't get this weird lizard kid's tongue off of me. Freed, it looks like your use of a holy sword could stand some improvement. Try to make a better use of the factor I gave you. That is why I've been studying it after all. Focus as much as your sacred factor that runs through your body as possible into the holy sword. Do that, and you should be able to break free by yourself. Oh, is that all it takes? Freed asked, his holy sword beginning to emit a glow. Like this, here goes. He cut through Saji's line with ease. The only thing holding Freed back was gone. This is bad. He could escape now. I'll bid you all adieu. Our ultimate battle will have to wait until another time. With those parting words, Freed. No, you don't. A figure swept past me at a tremendous speed. This new companion met Freed holy sword head on. The clash produced the power of sparks. Zenobia. Hiya, Issei. Irina? My childhood friend had entered the fray as well. Help had arrived in the form of the holy partners. Freed Selzen, Valper Galilee, blasphemous traitors. I will cut you both down in the name of the Lord. Haha, don't mention my name and that hateful god in my presence. bitch. Zenobia and Freed exchanged a series of rapid blows, but Freed quickly dug a hand into his pocket, pulling out a small, luminous ball. Shit, that's his getaway album. Gramps, we're leaving now. We'll have to report back to Kokobeel. It will be our only option, Valper agreed. See you later, Church and a Demon tag team. With that, Freed slammed the little orb to the ground. A blinding burst of light filled my vision. By the time I could see again, Freed and Valper had already vanished. Damn it! After all that effort, they'd gotten away. Let's go after them, Irina. Right. Zenobia and Irina exchanged quick nods before taking off at a sprint. I'm going to. No way is Valper Galilee getting away, Kiba declared, dashing after the two girls. Hey, Kiba, what do you think you're doing, damn it? I cursed. He was seriously just doing as he pleased. Konako, Saji, and I were left behind. We dropped our battle stances and paused to catch our breath. No sooner had we done that than I felt a certain presence approaching us from behind. I thought I sensed the unusual flow of power. What kind of trouble have you gotten yourself in now? At a foreboding call of a familiar voice, I did an about face. Issei, what is the meaning of this? Explain yourself. I blanched. Rias and Sona were both scowling at us in a clear displeasure. Destroying an Excalibur? The Prez rested a hand against her forehead, clearly extremely vexed to learn that we've been trying to accomplish. After the fight against Freed, the Prez and the chairwoman had brought Konako, Saji, and me to a nearby park. We three wrongdoers were kneeling formally in front of a fountain. Saji, you went and did this behind my back. What a handful. Sona wore a frigid expression as she closed in on him. Sorry, chairwoman. Saji stammered, turning deathly pale. He must have been terrified. Yuto went after Valper, didn't he? The Prez demanded. Yeah, I think he's with Zenobia and Irina. I'm sure he'll call if he needs us. I wonder, his thirst for vengeance might be clouding his mind. The Prez was right, of course. She turned her gaze away from me. Konako, she started. Yes? What were you thinking? I didn't want to lose Yuto, she admitted, bearing her true feelings. At this response, the Prez looked more concerned than angry. It's too late to do anything about that now. I hope you realize what you've done tonight could have major ramifications on the demon world. I understand. Me too. Konako and I nodded as we replied. We knew what we'd done tonight was risky, although strictly speaking, maybe we didn't fully realize the magnitude of our actions. I'd only had a vague feeling that what we were doing was dangerous. The Prez and I had been considering things on a completely different scales. I had been taking the situation far too lightly. I'm sorry, Prez. Sorry, President. Konako and I bowed our heads. I didn't expect to be forgiven for my actions, but I still wanted to offer my sincerest apologies. I was really, genuinely sorry. I turned my head at the sound, only to see the chairwoman spanking Saji's rear. Whoa, what a sight. Saji? I think you need more time to reflect upon your actions. I'm sorry, chairwoman. Forgive me, please. No, not until you had 1,000 spankings. The chairwoman's hand was charged with demon magic, and she was beating poor Saji across the butt. It looked seriously painful. For a high schooler, that must have been tough treatment. Issei, pay attention, Rias commanded. Okay. I sent my familiars to search for Yuto. Once they locate him, we will meet him together. We'll decide what we do the next time we find him. Do you understand? Yeah. Yes. Konako and I answered in unison. The Prez grabbed us both in an embrace, holding us tight. I could feel her warmth and kindness. How silly of you. You really made me worry, she said in a soft voice as she patted us both on the head. Press, I'm sorry, truly. Your kindness is almost more than I deserve. I was so happy to be your servant. It was wonderful to have such a kind-hearted master. Chairwoman, they've wrapped up everything with a hug. That's them. This is us. By the look of it, Saji's spanking wasn't ending anytime soon. He had a long way to go before getting into the happy marriage he wanted. Well then, Issei, on your knees, it's your turn. Perez? I thought she'd forgiven us. Rias grinned wide as a red aura enveloped her right hand. It's a master's job to discipline her servants. 1,000 spankings for you too. My ass died that day. The sun had set by the time the Prez and I returned home. We'd seen off Konako on our way back. She'd apologized to Rias many times over, but I don't think she regretted what she'd done. Truthfully, I didn't either. As for Kiba, we hadn't heard from him since he chased after Zenobia and Irina. I hoped he was okay. My butt cheeks seriously hurt. I could still feel the whip of Prez's love on my ass. We're home, the Prez and I announced. We took off our shoes at the door, and we were about to enter the hallway when my mom peeked out from the kitchen. There was something indecent about her expression. The Prez and I exchanged bewildered glances, but headed for the kitchen nonetheless. Come here, Azia, my mom urged as the person in question stepped out. Azia was wearing a kitchen apron, but something wasn't right. She was showing too much skin. Wait, seriously? Beneath that apron, she was stark naked. Azia, what a lovely, no, what an indecent outfit. My classmate suggested it. She said it was a part of Japanese culture that when we were working in the kitchen, you don't wear anything under the apron. It's a little embarrassing, but I want to learn how the Japanese do things. Azia mumbled. Her face was scarlet as she fidgeted from side to side. Blood spurted from my nose. Azia was gonna kill me if things continued like this. Competing with the Prez already had her actions unusually provocative, and now this? I wondered who could have told her this latest eroticism. Azia, who put you up to this? I asked. My friend Kiryu. Don't worry, I'm doing things properly by not wearing any underwear. It's a bit cold down there though. No underwear? Azia was telling me things I hadn't even asked about. She was definitely on the path of becoming a natural eroticist. It's a white apron, so if I look carefully, I could probably see through it to her. No, I couldn't look on her with that lecherous gaze. I knew it! That sick, bespectacled pervert! I cried. Kiryu. She was a mastermind at planting those immoral ideas into Azia's head. Part of me wanted to congratulate her on a job well done, but another part knew I had to tell that girl to cut it out. Damn it, Kiryu. There was no doubting her work as a fabled craftswoman. Azia in nothing but an apron was one hell of a job. She looks cute, doesn't she? My mom chuckled. I'm behind you all the way, Azia. I remember when I was your age. Mom, what are you saying? Hold on. Did you do this kind of thing with Dad? I really was my parents' child. We were one erotic family. Even if that was true, I didn't want to hear that kind of thing from my parents. I see. So that's your game plan. The Prez murmured somberly. Prez? Just what was she thinking? Azia, you are a true demon. You're a very sexual girl, the Prez said with a forced smile. Uh-huh. I don't want to be a sex demon, Azia cried tearfully. Just What is going on here? Wait a minute. I'm going to give it a try too. You've taken the lead on me, Azia. The press spun around and quickly left the room. Hold on, Rias. I'll help. My mom called out, following after her. Hey, just what are you all doing? What's happening? I didn't... Blood still dripping down my nose. I rested my hand on Azia's shoulder. Azia, yeah, it looks good on you. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you. Thank you so much. She looked abashed at my repeated praise. The two of us were alone now, so it was probably a good chance to get something off my chest that I wanted to say. Azia? Yeah? I'll protect you from those people from the church that we met the other day. You don't need to worry about them. If anything scares you, I'll drive it away, I declared. I wouldn't forgive anything who tried to threaten her. I couldn't bear to lose her again. At that moment, she caught me in a quiet embrace. Whoa. A hug from a girl only in an apron. Issei, I don't regret becoming a demon. I haven't forgotten my faith, but there's something more important to me than love for my Lord. More important? You, the president, everyone else in the club, my friends from school, your mother and father. They're all incredibly important to me. I don't want to lose them. I want to stay this way with everyone forever. I don't want to be alone anymore. Azia confessed. Her body was trembling, even as she hugged me tighter. Azia had always been alone before she met us. Neither God nor man had deemed to help her. I vowed to be different. I was never going to leave her alone again. You're not alone, Azia. I'll make sure of that. We'll be here for you always. I know this probably sounds pretty corny, but I'll stand by you, so don't cry. Smile. There's nothing better than your smile. I'm so happy I came to this country, that I met you, Issei. Issei? Azia said in a sweet voice, burying her face in my chest. I took her in my arms, embracing her when my hand came to a stop. Her back is completely exposed. I should have realized that sooner. Azia was wearing only an apron, and that covered only her front side. That pretty little bottom is totally bare, Azia. It was so smooth. Her pale white skin, I wanted to rub it, to hold it, but my conscience always held me back. What am I supposed to do? My hands were trembling in the air without anywhere to put them. Her butt? Should I grab that plump behind of hers? I can't do that. I mean, I want to. She might even let me. No, I can't stroke her hips in desire. Not when I'm supposed to be protecting her. My hand was snaking its way down all by itself. Rias kicked me out. I must have been making her feel embarrassed. Oh my. Having returned to the room, my mom caught sight of Ozzy and me and broke out into a wide grin. Mom. Oh my. It seems like I'm interrupting. It's okay, you know. The kitchen makes for a wonderful battlefield. The two of you do whatever you want. Just be sure to clean up after yourselves, okay? I can't wait to see the faces of my grandchildren. I can't stand this. I pulled myself away from Azia and made to leave the room. Why does my mom have to show up in the worst possible time? I felt like I would die from embarrassment. Issei, I changed my clothes, came the Prez's voice. I turned around and once more, a streak of blood shot down my face. Rias was wearing even a more risque apron than Azia. It was hardly large enough to cover her privates. It was so small, it really only barely counted what it was supposed to be. Now then, Azia, shall we start cooking? Yeah. They both set to work in the kitchen, both equally as nude from behind. Blood wouldn't stop pouring from my nose. Afterward, when Dad laid eyes on the two of them after getting home from work, he too broke out into a violent nosebleed. Father and son ended up stuffing their nose with tissues together. I'm blessed. This is a great way to relax after a hard day's work, my dad declared. Yeah, same here, Dad. I feel like I can just forget about everything else and be happy for a while. You'll have to marry both of them, son. That way, I can have them both as daughters-in-law. I'll do my best, Dad. The two of us enjoyed a joyful father-son chat. After dark, I slept together with Rias and Azia, but the present I snapped awake in the middle of the night after sensing an unusual dangerous presence. Rias jumped from the bed and looked out the window. Azia detected the same thing we did a moment later and woke up. Glancing down from my window, I discerned a faint figure of someone staring up at me from across the road. That psycho priest! It was that white-haired young exorcist, Freed. He was casting us a vulgar and provocative grin. That bastard! What happened after the fight? What about Kiba? Damn it! Now I was worried. He gestured for us to come outside and join him. A fallen angel? The prez murmured ominously. She snapped her fingers and instantly changed into a school uniform. Then she headed for the door. Hiya, Issei, Azia. Oh, aren't we looking sour? How are you? Oh my. Were you busy screwing in there? Sorry for interrupting. I've never been good at reading the mood. That was how that bastard priest greeted us as we stepped outside. What do you want? I demanded, but Freed's shoulders merely trembled in mirth. Is that foreboding pressure we felt coming from him? No. He gives me the creeps, but that's all. What I felt was closer to something on the level of a high-class demon. The prez suddenly glanced upward. There was a figure floating in the air, back to the moon. It was a masculine form with jet black wings. A fallen angel. 1, 2, 3. Why does he have 10 wings? The fallen angel resembled a young man and was cloaked in an ornate black robe. Having caught the prez's attention, he let out a deep chuckle. Greetings, daughter of the House of Gremory. What splendid crimson hair you have. It reminds me of your brother. It's absolutely nauseating. What? How can he say that? I can practically feel his hatred. The prez's expression likewise turned cold. She really could look quite terrifying at times. How do you do, Kokabeel? You're one of the leaders of the fallen angels, right? My name is Rias Gremory, by the way. I'd also like to add that while in some ways the House of Gremory and I may be among the closest of individuals to the Demon King Lucifer, we're also among the most distant in other ways. If you're hoping to establish a political contract, then I'm afraid you're wasting your time. Kokabeel? That's who this is? One of the head honchos of the fallen angels? Seriously? That same guy whose name showed up in the Bible? He's the real deal. This is bad. We're in some serious trouble. On closer inspection, he looked like he was holding something in his arms. I squinted and I saw it was a person. Was he carrying someone? I have a present for you, Kokabeel declared. All of a sudden, Kokabeel threw a person he was holding into our direction. Hey! Acting on impulse, I moved to catch the body. The person who landed softly in my arms was Irina Shido. She was caked in blood. Her breathing was labored. Every square inch of her body looked to be covered in wounds. Had all of this happened after she and the others taken off after Freed? If so, what did this say about Kiba and Zenovia's fates? Irina! I called out to her, but she didn't respond, merely grunting in pain. This wasn't good. She and her friends paid us a visit at our base of operations, so we gave them a fitting welcome. It's a shame the other two got away, Kokobio said with a sneer. So, Kiba and Zenobia managed to escape. Azia! I set Irina down on the ground and caught Azia over to heal her. A pale green glow enveloped Azia. Gradually, Irina's tortured expression eased, and her breathing relaxed. That was when I realized her Excalibur was missing. What happened? I wondered. Kokobio paid no heed to my unvoiced question, only saying, I'm not foolish enough to bother negotiating with the Demon King. Then again, if I violate and murder this darling sister, I might be able to attract his ire. That wouldn't be a bad idea. The press glared at the fallen angel with contempt. What do you want from me? She demanded. I'm going to lay waste to your territory. Kuo Academy and the town that surrounds it will be reduced to rubble. That should be enough to attract the attentions of our dear Sir Zex, wouldn't you say? What? You realize if you do that, you'll plunge us back into a three-way war among the fallen angels, demons, and the forces of God, right? Oh, I'm counting on it. I was expecting the Archangel Michael to declare open hostilities after I stole his holy swords. But instead, he sent some no-name exorcist and a couple of amateur swordswomen. You can't imagine my disappointment. I suppose I'll have to wreak carnage on Sir Zek's sister's little Hans instead. Perhaps demons will provide more of entertainment. It should be fun. The press clicked her tongue in displeasure. This was proof she was ticked off for real now. Why did Kokobio try to piss off Michael? Isn't Michael supposed to be second only to God? Even I knew that much. That Archangel popped up in a huge number of books. Kokobio sure was trying to pick a fight with someone important. I suppose that much was to be expected of a leader of the fallen angels. Unfortunately, he seemed to be more interested in us, all because he had nothing better to do. You war fanatic. The press spat with vitriol. Unflapped, Kokobio let out a joyous laugh. Indeed, that's precisely it. I've been bored to death since the end of the last Great War. Neither Azazel nor Shemhazai was interested in a resumption of hostilities. Far from it. They've been throwing themselves into their crazy sacred gear research. None of those juvenile toys could ever amount to a truly decisive weapon. Although that kid's boosted gear might be another story. But that hardly justifies the effort necessary to search for all the little things. The fallen angel's eyes turned to me. The pressure of his gaze was mind-numbing. My whole body was shivering. Refusing to break my defensive stance, I called back. Are you guys chasing after my sacred gear too? I have no interest in that thing. Azazel might, however. He's quite the collector. Azazel? He was the governor of the fallen angels' political structure. Apparently, he was gathering sacred gears. More importantly, I'm going to launch a battle over the many holy swords that currently reside in your territory, Rias Gramarye. Here's to the next war. I've decided that the stage of our first skirmish shall be where Sir Zex and Leviathan's little sisters go to school. Can you feel it? There's a magic in the air and chaos will be relished. What better way to unleash Excalibur's latent power? What better battleground? This guy is out of his mind. He's seriously spouting nonsense. Don't you just love him? My boss is completely deranged. I'm starting to get pretty pumped up for this war too. He even gave me these little toys to bring to the party. With all the possible glee, Free pulled out an Excalibur. He had one in each hand, and another 2 attached to his belt. The one on the right is Excalibur Rapid, and this little beauty on my left is Excalibur Nightmare. Over here, we've got Excalibur Transparent, and the sweet little girl you're healing was kind enough to hand me Excalibur Mimic. I can't wait until the other ones give me Excalibur Destruction. Oh yeah, I'm the first person to ever wield this many Excaliburs. It's all thanks to that need factor that old man Valper gave me. The fun part was every one of them was hyper state, ready to be used. Prepared to give up yet? Free broke onto delirious guffa. I wouldn't have expected Valper's Holy Sword research to produce such bountiful results, Kokobile admitted. Frankly, I had my suspicions when he first joined my plan. What do you want with the Excaliburs? The Prez demanded. Kokobile's 10 black wings fluttered as he began to glide towards the school. Let's have ourselves some bloodshed, Rias Gremory, sister of Demon Cersex. Fried had pulled out one of those blinding escape tools from his pocket. Again? We lost sight of them for only a moment, but by the time our vision had returned, both Kokobile and Fried were gone. Damn it, I cursed, but it was obvious where they were headed. Issei, we need to go to the school. Right. Our great battle with the leader of the fallen angels had begun.